Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to this introduction to Squid session. By a very quick way of introduction, my name is Matt Potts. I'm responsible for pre-sales within the EMEA region at Squid. In terms of what we'll be covering during this session, we'll start off with an introduction to Squid. We'll then move on to some demos, which we'll break down into two parts. We'll first of all have a look at some finished solutions which have been built using Squid, and then we'll create a new page from scratch to give you an idea of the process you go through in order to create highly tailored business applications using Squid. We'll then come back and talk about a customer use case before closing out with Q&A. So let's get started. So first of all, what is Squid? So Squid is a cloud innovation platform to create engaging made-to-order applications up to 90% faster. Every business is unique in some way, and that's why you need tailored business applications that behave the way your business and your users do. Companies have been shackled, restricted by their out-the-box user interfaces from some of the big software enterprise vendors, and it's forced the business to work the way the software does rather than the software working the way in which the business and the users do. Squid allows you to develop a user interface, a user experience that is 100% tailored and works the way you need it to for your business and your users. The great thing about Squid is you can build those tailored applications without any code whatsoever. So Squid allows you to build those applications in a fully declarative manner, i.e. through drag and drop, point and click. So this subsequently means you can deliver applications very, very quickly, and you can continue to iterate very, very quickly as well, meaning Squid is truly agile. The only constant in today's business world is change, and therefore your business applications need to change as well. And therefore Squid allows you to deliver that agility at pace. Squid allows you to build amazing user experiences, engaging and intuitive applications that your users want to work with. This is ultimately going to help drive adoption of your business systems. Adoption is the number one metric to measure the performance and success of any business system. Squid helps to enable adoption. You can also think of Squid as a single system of engagement within your organization. It's fair to say that most organizations have lots of different technologies within their landscape. They don't just have one system from one single vendor. So what that means is that most business users have several different user interfaces to perform their activities for their job. With Squid, you could bring all of the data from all of those different systems together and unify that into one system of engagement, one system of entry for your business users. Anything that has an API, we can expose that data through into Squid. The data always remains where it lives. Squid is never storing data. We're always accessing it real time when the user runs an application built using Squid. And because Squid is a framework, there's no limit to what you can build, whether it be an internal application such as a sales and pipeline report, or be it a portal for your partners, suppliers, or customers, or whether you're building something like a dashboard for analytical purposes. There really are no boundaries to what you can build using Squid. Our customers typically use Squid in three main ways. First of all, they use Squid to deliver new applications, both internally and externally, to deliver things like new products, business lines, services, and processes. And Squid allows them to innovate and deliver to market very, very quickly. Secondly, customers use Squid to reinvent existing applications, re-engineering and reinvigorating their business systems through a completely new user experience. And thirdly, our customers use Squid to migrate existing applications from on-premise into the cloud. So as mentioned previously, there really are no boundaries to the types of applications that you can create using Squid. However, here are some specific examples where Squid is used at different companies by delivering their employees, customers, or partners an intuitive user experience without placing the system of record. This digital transformation allows companies to get greater value out of all of the systems they have spent so much time and money on. With Squid, we just need an API to connect to the system of record. We leave the data where it lives, and then we can quickly re-engineer the UX to deliver something that's really, really compelling to the business user, and also deliver that incredibly fast to the declarative framework within Squid. So there are a number of different ways in which you can provision and deploy Squid depending on your requirements. Starting over on the left-hand side, you can deploy Squid within your Salesforce org. Squid is a managed package that therefore has native access to all of the data within Salesforce and also all of the business logic and security. Even if you're running Squid within Salesforce, you can still connect it to lots of different external applications, such as those listed in the middle box. We'll talk more about the data sources a little bit later on. However, if you want all of the benefits of building code-free applications, but you don't have Salesforce, then you can deploy Squid on our own platform, which is the box over on the right-hand side. So the Squid platform is a cloud-based solution that allows you to deploy Squid and connect it again to the different data sources that have the data you want to leverage through into your user experience. In either case, regardless of the data we're connecting to, whether we're hosting Squid on Salesforce or on platform, the data always remains where it lives. Squid is always querying the data live, real time when we run a Squid page. We'll talk more about this a little bit later on. When we move on to the demos very shortly, we'll be running Squid within Salesforce. So that will be the focus of today's session. When Squid is running inside Salesforce, as previously mentioned, we have native access to all of the data and all of the security and business logic, and Squid really extends the user interface and is compatible with both Salesforce Classic and Salesforce Lightning. So one last slide before we move into the demos, a really important slide. Here we're talking about the Squid App Composer. So this is Squid. This is where all the magic happens. This is where we build our amazing end user applications. So you can see over on the right hand side, the output is an amazing user experience. We're going to deliver that by building pages and grouping those pages together into apps using the Squid App Composer. Over on the left hand side, we see our different data sources where we want to acquire the data into Squid. So Squid has a number of pre-built connectors into things like Slack, Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, SAP, AWS, Box, Oracle, and beyond. The list here isn't exhaustive. Where Squid has a pre-built connector, it makes it really easy to connect to that system, as simple as specifying the host name or the IP address of that system, and then specifying the authentication details. Where you want to connect to a system that has an API, but Squid doesn't have a supported pre-built data source, you can always connect using things like REST or OData methods. These things in Squid are known as data sources, i.e. the connection parameters to connect to those systems. Once we have our data sources, we're then ready to start creating our Squid pages and our Squid apps in the Squid App Composer. So the first thing we do within Squid is we create data models. So think as data models or as specific data sets we want to connect to against those connected systems. For example, if I want to connect to Salesforce Opportunities, I'm going to create a model that is connected to the Salesforce Opportunities object. If I wanted to connect to an SAP system and I wanted to connect to my sales orders, I'd create another model connecting to my sales orders within my SAP system. So each Squid page has a number of different models. Each model contains things like fields because we want to work with a subset of the fields that are available, only the ones that are relevant for the page and application we're creating. We can also create conditions on models which allow us to filter the data, i.e. only show me the open opportunities from Salesforce. Squid then has a comprehensive library of UI components to visualize the application that we're trying to build. We'll see the UI library of components a little bit later on. We then bind the components to the data models to start displaying the data. Branding and theming is obviously very, very important for today's business applications, particularly where you're delivering external portals to things like your customers, partners, and suppliers. Squid has a theme composer that allows you to build very finite, detailed levels of branding of your business applications quickly and easily. Lastly, we have the action framework within Squid. The applications and pages you build in Squid are not just read-only, they are fully interactive. So with the action framework in Squid, we can build a very interactive dynamic application, such as when a user clicks a button, it performs a sequence and series of business actions to represent business logic. Again, we'll see all of these things when we start to build a Squid page a little bit later on. So let's move on to the demos, and as previously mentioned, we'll break the demo down into two parts. So we'll have a look at a couple of finished solutions which have been built using Squid before we then move on to have a look at the Squid App Composer that we've just spoken about, and this will allow us to see all of the different elements of the Squid App Composer, and we will be creating a simple Squid app from scratch. So in terms of the finished solutions, we're going to be having a look at a configure price quote tool, so very much an internal Salesforce and business user solution. And we'll also have a look at a partner portal, so something that's also built on Salesforce, but it's very much for external users outside of our organization, i.e. our partner network. So the CPQ and partner portal are just two examples of applications which which could be built using Squid. There's obviously lots of different scenarios and demos we could show you, but in the interest of time, these are the two that we're going to be focused on. So let's now move on and have a look at the CPQ solution to begin with. So the idea behind our configure price quote demo is we have a fictitious company, UIG. They are a business which sells technology, hardware and software, and they want to give their sales teams a single, easy to use application to quickly create very compelling quotes for their customers. We want to guide the user through a simple 4-step process to create that quote, and everything you're seeing here has been built using Squid without a single line of code. We're actually interfacing with 3 different systems, primarily Salesforce, which is where we're running the application from, but we're also using external REST APIs to connect to things like tax rates and also shipping rates as well. But that's completely transparent to the user. They're just working with this one single application. So when the user runs the application, they're presented with the initial form on the create quote stage. And with the customer selected that we want to create the quote for, before we can proceed to the next step, we need to select a customer. So I can either pick it from a drop-down list, or I can start to type the name in. So I'm going to pick John Smith. I can then proceed to the next step. So then in the next step, I can start to add products to the quote. So we have a nice, easy way to view our products and also the ability to filter the products. So in this case, I'd like to add some desktops to the quote, and I want to filter this to just Core Xenon chips. So I want to pick 100 of this product and add it to the quote. And you can see now it's starting to build up the quote over on the right-hand side. Let's also go and add some software as well. So I would like to filter to enterprise software, and I'd also like to add 100 licenses over a 3-year period. And we will add the full productivity suite to the quote. So once I've selected the products I want to add to the quote, I can then proceed to the 3rd step, which is to manage the quote in further detail, mainly around any pricing information. So I can see here I've got a quantity of 100 that I selected, and it's bringing the unit price through from me. And what I can do here is add a discount. If I put something like a 50% discount, the system warns me the margin health is too low. So let's set that back to something like 5%. And then if we wanted to do some more sort of volume-based pricing, we could tick the option to bring up the tiered pricing configurator via a pop-up box. And we could say, well, based on the volume, this is what the discounts are going to be. Let's leave that as it was. I'm also going to add extended warranty here. So you can see as and when the user selects the information, it's rendering the different data on the screen rather than just presenting it all in one go. We can also do some configuration for things like the pricing of the software and services. Let's just leave that as it is for now. Then the final step is for me to actually generate the tailored quote document. I can choose which sections get included in the document if I want to, and it's got all of the details in the quote as we've just configured it. So then what I can do is either send that as an attachment in an email to my contact or print it and mail it out. So there we've used Squid to build a real simple CPQ solution to make the concept of creating compelling quotes for our customers really easy. So this is an example of where we're using Squid for very much an internal business application. If we want to build something that is external and is used by our partner, supplier or customer community, we can also do that as well. So here is an example of a partner portal built using Squid. So again, UIG is our company, and they want to give their partner network a portal that they can self-service and access to do things like access their performance, view their commission, and also request marketing material and raise any service cases. So let's take a look at some of the components of this particular application. On the home screen, the partner can see some key performance metrics via the KPI tiles and also a chart of their performance. They can also see any announcements and any upcoming opportunities that they are working on. If we navigate through into the sales section, we might want to go and have a look at the performance of the individual accounts that we've brought to UIG as a partner. And we'll be able to scroll through the partners and see the performance of those in specific detail. With all Squid applications, there's full read-write access with the data as appropriate. It's not just about read-only. Couple of other screens in here, we can go through and have a look at the commission. Obviously, as a partner, the commission I receive is very, very important. So I can see that in a dashboard. And we're starting to see here some of the different components that can be used on a Squid screen to organize and build the application as necessary. The next thing and final thing I want to do here is I'd like to request some marketing resource. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we've got some conditional rendering Squid, i.e. rather than present the user with all of the fields they need to fill out in one go, which may sort of mean lots of scrolling for the user, what we're doing is say, well, when the user chooses certain fields, we'll then conditionally render other things to make the user experience very, very seamless and dynamic. So here I'm going to select the marketing brochure that I wish to request. And then down in the bottom half of the screen, I'm just going to fill in some of the other fields that are necessary. I'm going to say I need it by the end of February, and I don't want to have customizations. And with that, I can then submit the request for this marketing material. We then get a message to tell us the request has been submitted, and then we're taken to a screen which gives us a table which details all of the requests we've made, including the one we've just created. So again, using Squid to create an external portal for your things like partners, customers, and suppliers. Let's now move on to take a look at building a Squid page from scratch. This will then give us a chance to see the Squid App Composer that we spoke about a little bit earlier on. So here I'm in the Squid Pages screen. So as a Squid page builder, I can start to create a new page. So let's go ahead and create new page. And then I'll need to just put in a page name, which needs to be unique. So I'll put in webinar page MP1. And then we can proceed to the next step where I can start with a blank page. So what I'm going to do here is create a real basic Squid page where I'm going to be working with the Salesforce opportunities object. So we're now in the Squid page composer, which we spoke about a little bit earlier on. So just a very quick introduction to the sections of this screen. So over here we have the elements pane, and what you're seeing first of all is the UI library, the component library within Squid. Eventually what we'll start to do is drag these down into the canvas area, and the canvas area is a design time view of the application we're building. So this is where we start to build up the visual representation of the application we are building. Up here, we have the properties of the object we're working with. So at the moment, I see the properties of the page I'm building itself. So I'm going to do a couple of things before I go any further. I'm going to specify I'd like to use a specific theme. I want to use the Lightning Design theme. So that's going to control the branding and the coloring and the styling of the page I'm creating. And I'm also going to specify that when I run this page, I don't want to see any default Salesforce headers or sidebars. Before I go any further, I'm going to save the page. One of the things we spoke about earlier on was models. So models are the way in which Squid connects to specific data sets against the systems we're connected to. So for example, I'm going to create a new model, which I'm going to give it a name of SFOps, and I want to connect it to my Salesforce system. So here we see all of the different data sources that Squid has enabled. So in other words, these are all of the different connectors I've got to different systems within my landscape. So we're going to stick with Salesforce for now, and I want to use the same Salesforce org that Squid is installed in. Then what we can do is select the Salesforce object name that I want to connect to. So in this case, I want to connect to Salesforce opportunities. So I can type in the name of the Salesforce object I want to connect to. For those people that perhaps aren't familiar with Salesforce, think of a Salesforce object name as similar to a database table. I'm going to leave some of the settings here which specifies to load this model on page load, and I'm going to specify when I first load the page, I want to load an initial 1,000 records. We can always load more records at a later point in time. Then the next thing I need to do is go and pick the fields. So against the Salesforce object of opportunities, which fields do I want to work with? I don't necessarily need to select all of them. I'm going to go for account. So that's going to add the account ID and the account name. I'm also going to drill into the account object and go and pick one of its fields such as industry. So I'm just going to scroll down and add that field, and then back to opportunity, and then go through and pick some of the fields. So you can see here I can scroll through the list to start picking the fields within this object, or one of the things I can also do is type them up in the search box here and do it that way. So I'm just going to go through and add name, stage, forecast category. I'll also add the owner and the opportunity type, and that will do me. So I can see now I've added these fields against the model. One of the other things I can do against my models is add conditions. So this allows us to filter the data. For the purpose of the demo just now, we won't create any filters. So I've got my one model which I'm going to work with within this application. It's fair to say most pages contain a number of different models which will go across objects within Salesforce or perhaps other external systems, such as some of the ones mentioned a little bit earlier on. So now what I can do is start to visualize the data from this model in my page. So I'm going to go back to the list of components within Squid, and I can scroll down to see all of the different components that are available. I want to add a table, so rather than scroll and find it, I know I can type it in and then drag a table component into the canvas. So now we can configure the properties of the table. So the table is working with this SFOps model we've just created. And what we can then do is add fields from the model into the table. So let's go ahead and do that. So I want to use things like the account ID, the amount, the close date, and then things like the name, opportunity type, the owner, and the stage. I can then organize the order of the fields in the table as necessary. So actually I want the name field, so the name of the opportunity, to go at the start. I also want to be able to sort on that field. I want the amount field to go at the end of the table. I want to be able to sort on that field too, but I also want to be able to add a row summary of sum. So let's go ahead and click that. Just before we preview the page for the first time, I'd like to just go and add a page title in here as well. So let's just call this Ops Application. And I can get rid of the subtitle, and let's do one last save, and then I'm going to preview the page. So I actually want to preview what it looks like. So there we go. So we start to see now our page title and table, and we're querying that model. We're grabbing the first 1,000 records in the database and rendering that through into the table. So we can see here with the Squid table straight away, whilst we're seeing an entry of all of the opportunities in here, we can also do things like a search. If I just search for any of the fields that are in the table. So Alpine is a customer, so I'm now filtering the table to any opportunities that it finds Alpine, where Alpine is the account name. So I've got the search capability. I can also do things like add new records in line. I can also edit records in line as well, maybe even delete records if I want to, or maybe choose more than one record and do a mass update. So that's straight out of the box with a table in Squid. Let's click on cancel. So a few further things I would like to add to this page. The next thing is I would like to allow the user to create a new opportunity, but I want to do it slightly differently than having this inline edit or inline creation rather that you've just seen me do. So let's go ahead and handle that in our page, and this will give us a chance to see a couple of other things, such as the action framework within Squid and also the concept of conditional rendering. So first of all, what I'm going to do is go and create a copy of my model by cloning it, and I'm going to call this model SFOps new. And I'm going to specify that I only want to have one record for this model, and I don't want to call it on page load. So then what I'm now going to do is go back to my table, and I'm going to turn off this allow inline record creation. I'm going to turn that off. But I still want the user to be able to create a new record, a new opportunity, but I'm going to have a global action on the table. So this global action is going to be a button that the user presses, and the label is going to be create new op. Make sure I get my spelling right. And we'll have a little icon of the plus button in here. Then this button will have some actions behind it. So now we're starting to see the action framework within Squid. So I want to run a series of actions when the user clicks this create new op button. The first thing I want to do is I want to create a new row within my new ops model. What we'll also do is say, well, because we're creating a new opportunity, I want to maybe pre-fill some of the information. So just for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to say that the name field of the opportunity is going to be filled with some text called webinar test op. Then the next thing I want to do in my sequence of actions is have a pop-up. So let's go and choose that action from the list within Skuid. So you can see lots of different actions that we can have. Then in the pop-up, what I would like to do is allow the user to enter the information about the new opportunity they're creating. So I'm going to get rid of the pop-up title, and then what I'd like to do is have a form. So we achieve the concept of a form within Skuid through a field editor. So let's drag a field editor in here. So this should work with the new ops model. Well, what I'm going to do is just change the configuration of these boxes. So I'd like to take out the section B. I'd like to get rid of the section header in here. I'd like to get rid of the show save cancel button as well. I want to make sure it opens in edit mode, and then I can specify in here the fields I want to see. So I'm going to add some fields. So I'd like in here the opportunity name that we're going to create, also the account we're creating the opportunity for, the close date, and then things like the amount, the stage, and the type. And we'll add those to the field editor. Now, actually, what I want to do in this example is give the user a simple two-step process to create the opportunity rather than be presented with all 6 fields at once. So what I'm going to do, a couple of different things. First of all, I'm going to clone the field editor. And in the first field editor, I'm going to delete the last 3 fields. And then in this second field editor, I'm going to delete the top 3 fields, just so we get 2 different field editors with 3 unique fields. Then what I'd like to do is add a wizard component into my pop-up box. So we'll have a wizard. In the first step, we'll fill the first 3 fields, and then in the second step, we'll fill the last 3 fields. In the second step of the wizard, that's going to be the final step, so I don't need to have a next step button. What I'm going to do is say that this next step button, I'm going to overwrite that and say that this should be a save button. And I'm also just going to go and change the icon of this button as well. So maybe let's have a tick as the icon. And then the actions against this save button are going to be as follows. We want to save the record that we've just created. So we want to save the model changes into our new ops model. We then want to remove all of the rows from that model in case we want to create any new opportunities later on. So remove all rows from the model of new ops. I then need to refresh the original model I created because I need to perhaps go and grab new data now, having created new opportunities to be displayed in our table. And then lastly, I want to shut the pop-up down. So the last action against the button is to do a close topmost pop-up. There we go. So we configured the actions. And before I go any further, I'm going to click on save. A couple of last things I'd like to do before previewing this and checking it all works. The opportunity type field, I want to do some conditional rendering on this field to say the opportunity type field should only get displayed if the amount of the opportunity is greater than 100,000. And this is just to show you the concept of how you build conditional rendering within Skuid. So against the field, against its properties, I can choose rendering, and I can say only show this field if the value of the amount field against our new opportunities model is greater than or equal to a value which I'm going to specify, which is 100,000. One last thing, I'd like to add a nice indicator to show the user which step they're on of the wizard, i.e. step 1 or 2. So I'm going to add in this step indicator, and then I just need to tie my wizard to the indicator. So let me just quickly do that. I'm going to remove all of the formatting in here. And I'm going to have 2 steps. So the first step is going to be where the user enters the basic details. So I'll just give it a label of basic. I'll add 1 second and final step, which is to enter the other details. And there we go. We've created a pop-up now with some field editors, wizard, and step indicator to allow the user to create a new opportunity. So having saved the page, I'm going to go back to the preview and do a quick refresh. Let's check it's all worked. So the inline creation button within the table is now gone, but we've got this global action create new op. So when that pops up, we get this simple two-step process. So in the first step, we can enter the information where it's pre-populated the name for us. I'm going to pick Alpine as the account I want to create the opportunity for. I'm going to choose a close date of the end of the month. I'm then going to navigate to the next step. Here we can give an amount. So you can see here that the opportunity type field is not being displayed because the amount is blank. If I start to put 100,000 or higher, then the opportunity type field starts to display. So that's the conditional rendering kicking in. I'm just going to move the amount back to 10,000. I'm going to leave discovery set as it is, and then I'm going to click on save. That should then shut the pop-up down and then refresh the data which is feeding this table. So what we haven't done in this table is we've not sorted the data in any particular way, but if we just go and search for the opportunity which we gave a name of webinar, it should go and find that opportunity for us. So there we go. We've created a real simple opportunities application within Squid. Very simple application, but it just shows you the process you go through to create applications using the App Composer in Squid. Create your models, choose your components, drag those down into the canvas area, configure them as necessary, including any conditional rendering or any action frameworks, and then preview your page. So some of the demos you saw earlier on, the partner portal and the CPQ, it's more of the same. More models, more components, more conditional rendering, more action framework. So next, a case study of a customer who has used Squid to deliver transformational results. So HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprises, they've used Squid to optimize their inside sales user experience. They found that with Squid, they're able to save 2 weeks time saving when ramping up new inside sales reps to the team. They improved efficiency by 50%, and they were able to integrate 11 different systems into one single interface, that interface being Squid, making it easy and having one single tool for inside sales reps to use. You can see a video at the link provided via Eric Chapman, Director of CRM at HPE, when he spoke about the benefits of Squid at Dreamforce 2017. And you can see the quote there from Eric: "I've never seen business results achieved in less than 3 weeks. Squid is transformational." What I'd like to do next is play a short, sharp video about the HPE solution they built, which will give you a chance to actually see the solution itself.
As inside sales reps log into the command center, they are immediately drawn to take action on overdue and stale opportunities, new leads, and tasks through one simple action bar. The processes to create, convert, and manage opportunities has been drastically simplified, saving as much as 50% of a rep's time per transaction. We have provided our inside sales reps with the right tools at the right time and prescriptive processes and actions within the sales cycles. The command center doesn't just benefit sales reps, but the first-line managers as well. With Squid's interactive dashboards, first-line managers are able to digest key performance indicators and information from multiple sources effectively and efficiently. With task enablement and customizable targets, first-line managers are better equipped to utilize a more proactive management and coaching methodology, allowing them to better monitor and measure the activities of their sales reps in order to support growth. Feedback from our proof of concept in the Barcelona hub has proven the benefits of the inside sales rep command center concept. With the ability to integrate multiple sources of data into a common view, affordable tool integration, simplification, and consolidation, we are seeing an increase in call volumes and talk time with customers, a decrease in aged leads, and significant improvement in opportunity management productivity. We will continue to integrate and retire tools to enable the streamlining of our sales processes, and we are aggressively deploying our command center to sellers around the world and realizing the benefits of Squid and Salesforce.com.
To help our customers and prospective customers understand the value they can derive from Squid, we commissioned Forrester to undertake a total economic impact study of Squid. Forrester found on average that Squid customers saw a 365% return on investment, a 1-month payback period, and a 73% faster development cycle for delivery of their business applications. You can download a full copy of the study for yourselves at the address below, squid.com/TEI-study. That concludes the presentation portion of this session. We'd like to thank you for attending and hope the session has been useful. We'd now like to invite any questions from the audience.